In this episode of Arts and Offers, we're going to be talking about why one poem eventually is going to be worth $1 billion. And these are the characteristics that I think it's going to have.
It's going to have to be something that can't just exist purely on the page, but
Not only does it need to be disruptive, it also is going to have to be findable.
in film, we're going to see it projected on surfaces. We're going to see it on clothing. We're going to see it.
And the best news is that you can find examples of this already happening in the world around you. In the music industry, with the release of singles, going like platinum, double platinum, and things like that.
In the art industry,
With ice.
yeah, one day a poem is going to be worth
Not $1 million.
Not $1 million? You have to be going lower then, right?
Not $100 million.
Wow. All right. I mean, I don't know what could be next.
It's $1 billion.
$1 billion. And I want to talk about why that poem is going to be worth $1 billion. My lips can't even like fathom this. Like they
Want to say 50, but then
I think a poem one day is going to be worth $1 billion, and I want to talk a little bit about what I think are going to be the major characteristics of that piece, and maybe it's going to be your poem.
I believe it.
Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to the latest episode of Arts and Offers. This is all about the intersection between poetry and business and arts. My name is Geoff.
I'm Matthias.
Hi.
How's it going, man?
It's been good. We've had a little bit of a break. I know
A
that's
tiny bit.
yeah. But it's good to be back.
It is good to be back. I feel like, one of the really cool things about coming over here to like the West Side is I like all of my associations for like the West Side of like Columbus are like
Cheap gas. But that's because
cheap gas. For sure. If you're in Columbus and you're like, man, I want to get some gas, I am telling you how, like, sometimes you'll find gas cheaper like somewhere else in the city, but nowhere will it be as consistently
This is true.
the lowest as like on the west side of town.
It's
I don't know.
legit like 20 cents cheaper at times.
It's gas is $2.88
Yeah.
at like the speedway right around the corner from where I live, and it was like $2.50 something.
Wait, what? I didn't even shoot that
right down the street.
I thought it was pretty good. What day? But that's wild.
Nah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. But yeah, all of my outside of cheap gas, all of my associations are coming over and like doing stuff with Geoff. So it's like I feel like it's really always quite cool, kind of like the middle of the West Side, and like hanging out at the stanza around all these books and all of this poetry and being able to talk to you.
It is a vibe here. It really is a vibe. And actually, I haven't started promoting it yet because I want to shoot it first. But since you guys are watching this, a little heads up for something that's going to be happening. We are going to be filming Columbus, Ohio's first poetry reality TV show, or reality YouTube show.
Heck yeah.
Just, well, that's going to throw that out there. That's going to press the button. He pressed the button earlier. That was the right one.
I pressed a button that we should not push earlier and before you guys were seeing this, but now that was a good button to push.
That was a good one. Yeah. So keep an eye out for that.
Heck yeah.
That's just very exciting. But
is there gonna be like chair throwing?
so it's gonna be poets reading to friends. So depending on the relationship they have to each other,
I'm gonna throw a chair.
this
For sure.
you might just stop by, just throw a chair, get escorted
Right.
out. Any other big things happening right now?
I wrote a poetry, like a short film that has poetry in it, and it got accepted into another. I got accepted into a film festival 2 days ago. So there's that.
Oh, congratulations! What's the right one? I want to press the one out.
It's top. This one right here. Yeah, there. Like, yeah. Yeah, that one gets you some claps as well as the other one is and then you're done. Just I said it was here, and then you're done. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited because one of the things that we talk about a lot is just like, and we're talking about it. I mean, it goes with our topic today, but like just this idea that whatever form that you're confining your poetry to, it's it's not enough for your poem, right? So like whatever you should be looking for other ways for your poem to have life and to take shape. And yeah, it's just been a really cool journey kind of making films that are centering around poems, because it's like the films that are centering around poems, it's like there are clips and things like that that can be utilized for other things like kind of exist within that context. So yeah, it's been a cool experience.
Can I use that as a launch play for our discussion today?
Heck yeah.
Because that's actually one of the first characteristics that I think you're going to find for a poem that the first poem that's worth $1 billion is I think it's going to have to be multidisciplinary. It's going to have to be something that can't just exist purely on the page, but we're going to see it on buildings. We're going to see it on the page. We're going to see it in film. We're going to see it projected on surfaces. We're going to see it on clothing. We're going to see it. You're going to see it and encounter it in many different ways. You're going to see it heard on the radio. You're going to hear it and like you're going to encounter it in multiple formats. I think that's going to be the first thing that's going to enable it to reach $1 billion.
Heck yeah. And so, okay, let me ask you this. So maybe I am like, maybe it's what I think. Would you consider something like the Pledge of Allegiance a poem?
Cool. Well, I guess that leads to the question: how are you defining a poem?
That's right. I don't know if they did. I mean, when they're writing the Pledge of Allegiance, are they like are they thinking they're writing a poem, you think?
I think if you ask again, like 100 poets, how do they define poetry? I think you're going to get like 100 different definitions in honesty. And even if you ask those same 100 poets, like a day later, you're probably going to get another 100 definitions. But like, for sure. For me, poetry is about using language to capture and convey emotional experience.
Yep.
And so a pledge is something that's used to, I think, convey a sense of pride in country, which can make it difficult for people to do pledges at certain times,
Yeah.
because you may not necessarily feel there's a conflict. And so I think that, the fact that like there's even like debates about like the Pledge of Allegiance kind of suggests to me that, yeah, there is kind of like a poetic element to it because it's something that is evoking emotion positively and negatively.
Yeah.
And
That's for sure. It's so weird because I would say like growing up, like growing up, I grew up in like a really like religious I was gonna say a really religious faith. But it's so funny. So like I just never pledged allegiance like growing up, and I think that like looking at it now and like kind of looking at like what the Pledge of Allegiance is, it's like exactly what you're saying when it's like this thing that's like it invokes emotion. It's like people would look at like in that faith, people look at like pledging allegiance like you are like you are pledging something against like the will and like direction of God. And I'm like, man, like I want a poem that it feels like you have to choose.
yeah.
Which is like, I don't know. And the reason why I was asking is just like, when you think about like, what it would take for a poem to kind of carry that kind of weight carry that kind of weight and potential and like what you're able to do with it. Cause it's like, what kind of mindset or, when you're creating or when you're working on something like that, what you have to say, like, at this point right now, I envision that this work could be valued at $1 billion,
Yeah. I think that just think about Spud Show. I remember like Kathy used to work when we lived down in San Antonio for a couple of years. She was at the high school there, and not only did they pledge allegiance to the flag, but they also pledged allegiance to Texas, which is so woke.
Is our pledge of allegiance to the United States of America, specifically the Lone Star State.
That's literally like the pledge of allegiance to Texas is literally the same thing as the pledge of allegiance to the U.S. They just replaced U.S. with Texas.
Are you for real?
100%. Look it up.
Those guys are planning something.
Texas. I have never been to a state like.
No, listen, now that you're putting this out, they're going to be like, oh, he betrayed our concept. That's supposed to be only us that know. That was
Be a secret.
whole bunch of town. We're gonna go like crowd around.
No, Texas is very much Texas first, country second. It's very much like that. But I think, this also, I think, touches on to one of the second points too, where I think that for a poem to reach $1 billion is going to have to be something that's emotive in the sense that it conjures emotion. And I think these two things are related because the format can help conjure emotion, or like the reason people are going to put it into different formats, like the reason people are going to take lines and put it onto shirts, or the reason why people are going to say half a line and everyone else is going to know how the second half of the line finishes, like things like that. And the reason that's going to happen is because there is a specific emotion that is going to be conjured by the poem.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about like this is like a really good maybe kind of like example. In sales, you're not trying to get people, like somebody's trying to sell you something. Most of the time, they're not trying to get you to make a pragmatic decision. They're trying to get you to make an emotional decision. They're trying to say that like buying an SUV has nothing to do with how much you're probably going to spend on gas. It's protecting your daughter. Like, it's not like, you'll see like these like commercials, like it's not about, how much you're about to, spend monthly, on your car note or on gas or on insurance. It's like protecting your family. Like, it's like you're making an emotional decision that informs how you act in every other space. And so the same thing when it comes to like a poem and, art, much more subjective than, like the, maybe the more objective nature of like the safety rating on a vehicle is like you're pushing a button emotionally that pushes somebody towards something.
Yeah. Like people rationalize emotion. Like they think that it's rational first and then emotion, but it's emotion first and then you logic your way through it to be, this is why I feel it this way, even though the logic might be way off, And I mean, that's a challenge. Like next time you listen to advertisement, try to identify what's the fear that they're attacking. That's why they do things like only for a limited time, because they're trying to, there's that fear of missing out, right? And things like that. There's almost always an appeal to fear, or scarcity for both.
But yeah, I mean, and also it's like pleasure as well, because it's like, people, you can know that something is not healthy for you. You can know that, like, hey, if I go to McDonald's and I get this burger, it's not healthy for me. But the thing that burger makes me feel after eating it, like that feeling, or even not even after eating it, it's like the anticipation of eating something that tastes great. Like if you just know that something like my aunt's, mac and cheese, or like my cousin's, baked potatoes, or so. It's like just knowing, hey, this is like going to be really good. It can push you to be like, oh, I'm driving across, the state so I could get this, or it's something like that. So it's like there's, it can be fear, it can be like scarcity, this anxiety. It can also be like pleasure. It can be like these other things that are like, again, there are these emotional triggers that create the logic train that you end up like hopping on.
And I think that the emotional trigger of the poem that reaches $1 billion is going to probably be something that's tied to something that is controversial and trending. Because it's not just going to be enough to make you feel good. It's going to have to be something that makes you feel really good, or not just something that makes you feel bad, but it's not even necessarily going to be about making the person feeling bad, but allowing the person to make other people feel bad. Like sometimes people say things to hurt others, right? Believe it or not, which is really what word. Never happens to you. Ace of the whoa.
And I said new.
But I could see this poem potentially being used as almost like weaponized. It's going to be something that like draws lines in the sand, like something that some people are going to hear and they're really going to align with it and shove it into other people's faces, or use it as a tool to elevate status, you've heard me give lots of conversations about like status and affiliation. I think those are two of the biggest drivers for human behavior. Yeah, the poem is going to do something to elevate people's status while also simultaneously lowering other people's status.
Yeah. And I mean, and do you think that it's gonna have to be at the intersection of something like that's like trending and then also something that's like kind of like innate and primal at the same time? I think about like the what is uh it was a jeans commercial, but
It was like a shooter, and then they said it kind of like promoted the girl from Euphoria. Yeah. So people will start associating like, oh, if you're from this background, then you're genetically superior.
right. But that's like that was such an interesting. I think okay. When you think about marketing, it's like okay, take out what you feel about that, which is like hard to do, right? But it's like take out what you feel about that. It's like the thing as an ad, it's brilliant because it has what is it's like this like Sydney Sweeney has like a lot of fans, like people that really, really like Sydney Sweeney. So it's like there's that. And people that are like, oh, I would buy jeans if Sydney Sweeney is like selling jeans, right? But then it's like it has this really triggering language to a lot of people. It's like language that is true in a way, you know what I mean? Like somebody else could say the thing that she said in the commercial and then not feel right triggering and not feel like, oh my, this is, but because it's like this, like blonde hair, blue eyed, like white woman saying it on the thing. It's like, it, like my heart is over here.
Which is it. So I think that like when I say like trending and like the emotive thing, like I think it's going to have to be something that kind of captures like the zeitgeist of the moment. It's like there's like a tension going on a national scale, like racially. It's probably going to be something that touches on that, or if it touches on a conflict like a war, it's probably going to be something about that.
But it's just to say that like even outside of all of that, it's like as an ad, it's still like it worked. If you could solidly prove that that this is not some kind of eugenics dog whistle or something like that, it's still a good ad. You know what I mean? Like for like it, I don't know, like Pure Red Reds, there's Rose stuff is a lot.
Yeah,
Like it
it's the job of an ad.
if that ad were dropped in like 1995 or something like that, there'd be zero issue. There'd be zero conflict with it. But I think in 2025, I think with the kind of awareness that's happening, like around it. I mean, again, I think if it was dropped in 2015 and forward, it'd probably do the same like thing. So it's just to say that like it's just like this idea that like it's an ad that works if it's just left alone. It's an ad that's like insidious if you think about it in that way, and it might very well be like whoever created that marketing might have been thinking like this really incredible plausible deniability that they have because they're like, we didn't mean that at all. Like, what are you talking about? This is just how ads used to be. And so, yeah, just like like the idea that there is some thread of, I guess, manipulation in a way that is able to take this thing from this very surface level kind of ad about buying their jeans and making it like this controversy that people have to contend with in real time, like that the trending kind of faction of it, because it's like there's all these things happening right now and then contend with it in real time. But then also in 10 years from now, that'll be a good, like somebody's gonna release that as like a retro ad, like remember this, and then it could still sell jeans.
Which I think also ties into the third point I have, which is that the $1 billion poem is going to be something that's disruptive. It's going to capture something that when I'll kind of just like zoom out really quick, because I think if you look at a lot of the other arts, you already have examples of things that, maybe haven't quite reached billions of dollars, but have reached hundreds of millions for sure. I think you can see it in the music industry with the release of singles, going like platinum, double platinum, things like that. You see it in the art industry. The person I think about, is like Banksy. In like,
what's disruptive about Banksy is a couple of things, right? No one knows who Banksy is. Like you get that the anonymous factor. It's the social commentary, especially more of his more recent pieces that's kind of taken up. It's the breaking of the status quo. Like there was that one time, like he had that one piece art that was released, and then as soon as it got released, it went through a shredder.
Yeah.
Which ironically makes it worth even more. You know what I mean? But it's worth more because it's disrupting what people are expecting from art, right? It's also the fact that like there are people that call the type of work that he does vandalism because he's literally like marking up like public, it's like buildings and things. It's the basic, it's vandal, it's graffiti, and some people are going to make the argument that again that's disrupted,
Yeah.
and so this $1 billion poem is going to have to be also something that it can't play by the rules. It's not going to be a poem that is going to be published in a journal. It's not going to be a poem that is just sitting on someone's YouTube page. It's going to have to be something that takes what people perceive, not even what poetry can be, but maybe even just like what writing can be, and just completely subverts it.
Yeah. And the thing I would think about when I think about is like flexibility. It's like there has to be a contour to it that's like it maybe lives in both the expected and inside like the unexpected, and kind of where like things like where right, like you wouldn't naturally think of like, oh, this is how I'm putting, because it's probably going to have to be the thing that creates whatever kind of new kind of way that you're thinking. Like it has to be like probably the first of it. And I don't know what that thing is.
We can't. I mean, that's what I say. We literally can't know it, because once it's here, it's going to be very obvious. But until that moment, you don't know the thing until you see a thing, and then you can't help it. Oh, of course it's this thing.
Like, yeah, like of course it makes $1 billion, because like look at what this thing is. So it's like, yeah, it's like this idea that it has to do something that is it's so left field that it can entertain kind of the traditional space that maybe you're seeking poetry exists in, but then it's able to do something radical on the other side.
But the challenge with it is the next point is not only does it have to be disruptive, but it also has to be findable. Because it's not enough, like again, just using Banksy as an example, like if he just started off just putting it in like a dark alley that like no one goes down, who cares? Like it's not like it's never gonna start. Like it's gonna have to be in a place where people can encounter it, which means that it can't just be. This is again why the poetry journal is not going to work, because people don't read poetry journals. The $1 billion poem is not going to be found, at least not at first. Later iterations of it maybe, but the first version of that poem that's public facing is not going to be in a journal. It has to be in a place where people can find it that are not poets. Like the platinum single is listened to by people who know nothing about music. The $100 million painting is seen by people at a museum who know nothing about art. So it's got to be something that is able to be reached by a critical mass of people.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a really good point, because I think about like, when we're thinking about pushing our work, a lot of times we're thinking about the mechanics of pushing our work through other poets that like our work and are willing to push our work out places. I'm like, there are a lot of poets. There are a lot more people that drink water. And because there's a lot more people that drink water, if you can be like, the thing that I'm not trying to appeal to poets. I'm trying to appeal to people that drink water. Like if I can appeal to people that drink, or I can appeal to people that just, do you wear shirts? Okay, you don't have to be a poet to find my work. You have to be a person that purchases a shirt. Like now you've opened yourself up to a much wider market and a much wider breadth. So it's like, Yeah, I definitely see that there, which is also, I mean, I think it's like that's a good mechanic for really everybody's work, to be seeking after not a whole bunch of poets that just will like your work, being able to look at what the core audience for what your work is doing is, and being able to reach out to them. But yeah.
In any industry, this isn't about poets. This is about whatever you're doing. It doesn't even have to be about art. It's like whatever the thing is that you're interested in. You know, it could be like maybe you're like you're a boat maker or something like that. You know, it's the same thing. Same thing.
Yeah.
At the same,
Wine boat maker.
it's like I don't.
Like,
That's right. Hey, they have it. It's like it could be Mason. Like it could be whatever the things. Um, but I think the challenge of it is that not only does it have to be like disruptive and findable, but it's also going to have to be something that is accessible and legible to the person who encounters it. So yeah, it's like the poem, the $1 billion poem is going to be something that can be understood by that same critical mass of people. Not necessarily understood correctly. It can be misinterpreted, but it still has to be interpreted in some way.
Yeah.
Because if it's just like something that's like, if it's too unexpected, like if it's like, I'll go back to Banksy. Like if he starts off just with like really abstract art, it's not going to work. Like the art he has to do has to be something that people see it and they recognize, oh, this is a person. Oh, this is a child. Oh, this is, you can't push too far.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I it's like once you've established that, I do this a lot of times and like yeah, I don't know, you might do this too, but a lot of times when I'm doing like a set, like I'll know that I want to do some, I have like 4 poems that I'm like, I've never performed these poems before, and they're doing something that I've never done before with poems. So before I get them there, I'm gonna show them that I have good poems, that like these poems. I'm like, I do good poems, guys. So like later on, you can trust me at that later on in the juncture. And you gotta, we talked about this a little, we've talked about this a little bit, but like even with Apple, right? Like the idea that you could like have a phone that has 3 cameras on, like, like this, like really in beautiful camera, and like, a touch screen is like, that seems like really, really far off into the future. And when you're Apple, you're like, okay, when you first drop the phone that has like 0 buttons, like I remember I was like, I've watched that, I can't remember what they call it, but like the big meme, like, so yeah, the product launch, like, so like I've watched that like a lot, like it has like, I don't know, I think it has like 1 billion views, from like more than that maybe on YouTube. But it's just this idea that like you're watching somebody say like, okay, however you've been thinking about phones this entire time, this is completely, not only is it completely different, but it's like everybody was like, I don't, what do you mean no buttons on your phone? Every phone that I've had my entire life has had buttons in some way, shape, or form. But the way that you get buy-in like that is that you've consistently had great product before. You can, everybody out there in the audience and everybody that's probably watching has probably had their iPod and like have like other devices that are like, oh, these are really cool devices. Like this stuff is like I've had their computers and I've had their laptops, and so I can imagine that whatever they're about to launch out here into the audience or into the public is a good product, and so you can kind of have that kind of buy-in. But yeah, I think if any other company that doesn't have that kind of product loyalty and buy-in, if they just try to put a phone out there that doesn't have any buttons, it probably doesn't launch as well.
I mean, you literally saw it. I have an example of Apple, and then another example of the code I was working with. You saw with the Apple Watch. It's like at some point it became clear that Apple was going to launch a watch, but people didn't exactly know what it was going to look like. And so Samsung saw it, like that was going to be coming. And then Samsung was like, you know what, we're gonna be Apple. We're actually going to launch the watch first. So they actually launched the watch before Apple did. And it started off okay, but then after that, like sales just like tanked. But then when Apple launches theirs, like it saw much more consistent growth. And one of the things that we saw with Apple was like when Apple launches a new product, they don't do it as often now because the strategy's changed a lot. They're less about the innovation. You know, but when they launch a product, it takes them forever. There's so much lead up. Like they're announcing the idea for the thing like a year before, and they're building a wait list, and you know, they're teasing things to the wait list people over a very, very, very long time. And then they're also limiting the launch. You're like, you know, not everyone's gonna be able to get one, you know. That's like that's such a bogus idea because like they're Apple, they're one of the wealthiest. They have $1 trillion in the bank. You know, they could make one for every single person if they wanted to. Like it's not a limited.
Yeah.
The limit. It's a false scarcity. They can make as many as they wanted. You know, but on that initial run, they keep it like, nope, we're not doing that. We're only going to make a limited run. So now you're raising the status of people who get it. You know, and you're making it. It's the whole product launch becomes an experience, right? But it's that experience takes. You have to be willing to play the long game. This is something that, hey, we're going to do this next year. It's January 1st right now. You're not going to see this until February next year. Are you willing to play that sort of long game to kind of prime people for what's about to happen?
And it's better to have a bunch of experiences like that are like these limited runs. So you have people waiting outside and waiting around the corner and like tweeting and being highly anticipating getting their hands on something, as opposed to just being like, you guys could drop by the store anytime. We got plenty. Like much like for the status of your company, like, and for kind of the status of that product, it's so much better to be like, okay, guys, like October 30th is the next time we're going to have this, but we're only going to stock 10,000 countrywide. And so hopefully you're one of the people.
Yeah. But also think about that front. I was working with a poet. So poet, she was showing me some sounds she'd written, and she showed me, she's a poem called like First Sonnet. And I wanted to clear, it's not a sonnet. It's 14 lines, but beyond that, it's not. Oh, it's not a sonnet. It's not. And we talked about it. And now she's aware. Now she's aware of like, oh, and you know, you got the meter, there's the rhyme scheme, all those, there's the turn, you know, right around line 8, line 9. You know, so we talked about it, and now she's written another poem that we changed it to the title of that one to like Second Sonnet or something like that. And what I told her is that, you know, if you submit this out to journals, personally, I would not recommend starting that submission packet with the first sonnet, because if I start that submission packet with first sonnet, they're going to read it and they're like, this person doesn't know how to write a sonnet. Regarded first sonnet is not even a sonnet, you know? And you know, you might get some people that play around with the irony of the title and things like that, but it's a gamble. And maybe take the risk and maybe it'll work, but but that first poem of a packet, it's just like a first impression. It's like the first page of a book. That determines how I color the rest of the packet.
Yeah.
It leaves an impression on everything else. So that first poem really needs to, using that as that demonstration of ability to be like, hey, look, I know what I'm doing. Okay. Before I go all experimental on you, I want you to understand I know the foundations. Like, you know, like you look at like Picasso, like Picasso's earlier work is not like his Cubist work. His earlier work looks very traditional, you know?
Yeah.
And once he masters the traditional stuff, then he's like, I'm going in this direction, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and it works. I mean, I feel like we've done this example a couple of different times, but it actually, when you think about how like record labels like structure like artists like album rollouts and album deals and stuff like that, it's like you'll always notice like the first few albums that somebody puts out are typically kind of like right within like the genre platform that you're thinking that they should be in, if you listen to their single and you listen to maybe their mixtape or whatever like that coming out. And then right around like that fourth album, that's when the artist is able to kind of like get a little out there and try to experiment with some things. And sometimes some A&R somewhere will pull the reins back, but a lot of times you kind of see the artist kind of being more experimental and kind of taking a little bit of a left turn, because it's like, okay, like, let's establish your audience. Let's make sure that they know and believe that you make good whatever you make. And now that they know that, they're like, I can trust you to do a little bit of a left turn over here. I can trust that to see where it goes.
But yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I think one day there's going to be $1 billion poem. I think it's a matter of time. I don't know if it's going to be in our lifetime, but I don't think that's unrealistic. And it also kind of makes you, like, having this discussion makes me kind of think about, the traditional path in art is very much like a traditional job. When you get hired for a job, all the expectations are there. You already know what to expect. You already know what you're going to get paid. You already know what your benefits are. You already know how much time off you're going to get. You know everything. And there's something nice about that, because suddenly, in a world that we don't control very much, you have something that you can feel like you count on. It's not actually something you can count on, but it gives you that sense that you can count on it.
You can feel it.
So for a time, you can count on it.
Yeah.
Versus you start your own job. Everything is infinite. The income you make is infinite. The number of potential days off you could take is infinite. The number of people you can reach is infinite. The number of risks that you subject yourself to is also infinite. So you're not guaranteed anything.
Yeah.
So there's no cap to the potential, but there's also no cap to the pitfall, right? And most people go what they believe to be is the safest route, right? And I think it's the same thing with art. Like, when you submit your art, when you are like, you know what, I'm leaving my artistic endeavors, my poetry, in the hands of these editors or these organizations and things like that, what you're essentially doing is you're punting on the idea that my poem is going to be $1 billion poem.
Yeah.
My poem is going to be the $100,000 poem, or even the $1 million poem. But it's not going to be the $1 billion poem. There's a cap. There's a limit. And so it really, this discussion is just, for me, kind of just reinforcing the idea that, like, because all of these things, the traditional route in art doesn't allow for, or there's some strong pushback for, and I get the attraction to it. But I think if you're someone that believes that your art really impacts people, and you want to advocate for your art to impact the most people that it can, I think we need to understand that the traditional path is never going to really allow us to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It already has this, like, in a lot of ways, the traditional path already has its kind of built-in winners and losers too, right? So it's like, it's already determining, like, if you take this traditional path, if this person co-signs you and you get into this journal and you get into, I don't know, like this reading or anything like that, like these are the winners. And so the opposite of that is like, well, if you don't do all these things, then like you're not going to win as much, or you're going to lose. So it's like just this idea that the risk that you take in betting on yourself is that, you're determining whatever road leads to a win.
Yeah. Like, the people that choose, like, the Pulitzer probably have an idea even like a year before it comes out that, like, this person has a collection or this piece of art coming out. Yeah. Is going to be at the discussion, versus you and I could make, like, the greatest collection of poetry. It's not even considered. It's not even going to be, it's not even on the table, it's not even going to come up. I was having this discussion with Mark Lomax. He's a musician in Columbus, and he had done this, like, crazy tour and, like, music celebration with, like, the 400 series. And he's not eligible for some awards because they were already going to be given to someone else. It was already predetermined. Like, no matter how great the thing is that you do,
You can't get this. Doesn't matter how dared. And it's like, do you want your future controlled like that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a daunting task. It'd be like, hey man, let me work as hard as I can, put my blood, sweat, and tears into this work, and then like make the metric for success or failure determined on somebody who's already made the determination on you. They've already a lot of times they've already determined that if you don't fit like 5 or 6 qualifications just when it comes to their visibility. So it's like not even about your audience. It's about whether or not you're seen and heard in spaces that they consider reverent and they consider like good.
Yeah. Because you got to make the people giving you the award look good.
Yeah, that's it.
That's why they give you the award.
Yeah.
Anyways, one day there's going to be a poem that's worth $1 billion. That'd be cool if it's one of yours. These are the things that, if that's something that interests you, that I think are going to be characteristics of that poem. This is my prediction for the future.
Yeah.
Get it.
That's like, man.
Thank you guys for watching this episode of Arts and Offers. We'll be back next week, another episode. Once again, my name is Geoff.
I'm Matthias.
So see you guys later. Hope you guys have a good day, good night, good afternoon.